he's holding the handbag.
Yes.
Do you know the interpretation of the handbag? What does it mean?
Honestly, at one point I thought I had a clue, but after seeing these artifacts, you see these different depictions, and I'm starting to wonder if it's literally just a handbag.
Okay. Well, I asked Penny about this, and she actually saw them having this. She said that this was a bag with a what we would call a iPad tablet kind of device that you kind of plug into the spaceship, plug into a machine, and you have access to whatever you need, things like that.
Yeah, I totally wouldn't be surprised because these are seen everywhere.
Yeah,
So maybe it is like a tablet or a hard drive or something to that effect.
something like that, some kind of a device. Otherwise, why would they carry it? It's not like they need a handbag or
Everywhere.
something.
Right. And not everybody carries them. You only see it once in a while. Yeah,
Yeah,
you like it'll show up when it's important.
yeah. So he has like some kind of status or access, maybe like a professional access, maybe even. It's not like
Yeah.
some monarch or higher in the food chain kind of thing. So okay, so he has this handbag again, and the pine cone again. You have the UFO in the background. You have planets. You have again
The
the
indications that he's speaking.
this one,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah. See
bubble,
that little thing?
right?
Yeah, that like a
Okay.
speech bubble. Oh, see that symbol off to okay. Um, off to the left on
Mm-hmm.
the edge, you have what looks like an address. And you're not going to get other people talking about this.
This one,
The way, yes, that
yeah,
one. My tattoo on my left wrist
yes.
is also a gate address.
Mm-hmm.
And these have started popping up more and more. This is more like the older ones when they don't use the planets as markers. The address on my wrist that is tattooed
Mm-hmm.
uses planets as part of the address marker and
Okay.
usually uses a star to indicate which system we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
These, I mean, like I said, older ones, the circle should be a star. And then the rest of this
Mm-hmm.
should be the frequency. That's where we have to figure out the translation. Should be the frequency. In fact, I can show you an old Buddhist version of an address. And I have it
Wow.
here actually in brass.
I see an Om symbol, the swastika, and the trident. So what does it mean?
Swastika is an old symbol of movement.
Okay.
That's what it's this. You're looking at the two-dimensional version of a symbol that says move. You want to move, you need to use this frequency
I
because
see.
portals are navigated by frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the overall with the trident, it almost implies that, hey, you want to come to us, you need this frequency to do the movement.
I see. Wow. Interesting.
But that's again a theory. Even the other one I have, but yeah, that one has Earth. Like I said, newer format. Earth at the bottom. Two of the planets that are above that have been destroyed,
Mm-hmm.
and this is when Saturn was the star. So you have
Mm-hmm.
Saturn, Mars, Earth at the bottom, and two of these planets that were destroyed. And this is the incomplete address,
Mm-hmm.
so that basically, if anybody gets a hold of it, they won't have the entire address.
Okay, so you need an extra couple of things to get there, right?
Yeah, which only the family knows.
I see.
So I I know the rest of the address, but I'm not going to advertise it for security reasons.
All right. So this the Indian thing is interesting. So what you're saying is, in order to get to where this race that is represented by the trident is, you need the Om
You
vibration.
need frequency. You need the correct frequency to navigate any portal.
Right.
And you need 7 points of access. I sent you the image for the Enki crop circle.
Yeah.
And
And
this
it's
becomes
amazing.
very interesting. 7 points of access, correct frequency for portal navigation.
We're like in a Stargate movie
I
or something.
I know it, and it's Tesla's math. It's vortex math. that you use to get the proper calculation for the points and the frequency. Like to go to Soren, the frequency was 507. If you don't hit that right, the portal does not end up on the correct location. That's why Earth is difficult to navigate by portal. Its frequency changes.
I see. Okay, the other hieroglyphs above and on the sides, do you know what they mean?
No, these are there are a few that look familiar, but then there's the other ones that you're like on this left side. You know, if you zoom in close to that, you look at that and you're like, well, it means something clearly.
Right.
But we've got to run this through. I think it's part of those 3 languages that we don't know what that means.
Okay. Okay, as we go down here, we get a very interesting. So this guy is like floating above them, almost like, yeah, I understand why people would say this is a spirit because it looks like like this ghostly tail kind of thing.
And depicted a lot, these individuals with this kind of tail thing.
And if you're religious, you're gonna jump into saying this is a demon, right?
They've already started that. Unfortunately, there's a group that made a 6-hour documentary about how all of this was demonic.
Right. Of course, they have to be demonic because it's pre-Christian. And if it's pre-Christian, it's not from God, right? Why are we even talking about this now? This is clearly from the page.
See, I'm with you. I wholly do not think religion should be overlaid on this when, one, this predates all known religion, all of it. So I don't think they were up there planning and plotting to, reproduce the New Testament when it hasn't even been around yet.
So one has to wonder that, the wing symbol then in the church that we have with the angels and things, where did that come from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because so if an angel is an interdimensional being, supposedly, it doesn't need wings per se to travel. Sure. But you could depict it with wings to indicate that it's traveling or flying or moving.
There's also the potential that we have to consider, just to be fair, is that perhaps these people were talking about an actual species with wings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
I mean, we see people with dog heads. We see people with cat heads. We see eagle heads. What if this is actually a species that has wings and didn't develop into a bipedal format because, they're always flying or something?
What is this object itself? Is this like a medallion type or something?
Oh, tablet page from a book.
So in these stone books, how many pages are there?
4 or 5.
4
sometimes
or 5.
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we have seemingly another species here on the right, maybe a human, maybe something else.
I think this guy depicted here is also depicted in a statue that we see. I'm not sure if I sent you that image, but there's a statue that's holding a telescope, and he has the same headdress, different face, and he's not quite that position. He has his knees up a bit, but we do have a picture of that I can send you.
Okay. All right. So we don't really know what's going on here, do we? Like you have to you really have to study this to understand what this all means, right?
Right. And like I said, we still have to translate this stuff. Honestly, the translation of this is going to take a lot going on, because even with this, okay, most people would assume these are just decorations off on the left side or something to that effect. Those are most likely another language.
Okay.
Because we have found some pages that literally just look like scratch marks that are indicative of a language. Yeah, and this one you have the handbag, you have I don't know what they're holding in the air that's round. I will say the guy on the left looks like he has like this third depiction we've seen where this individual is holding what looks like a communicator. 3 circles at the top look very similar to the planets on the Anubis artifact we were looking at earlier.
Oh yeah, yeah. Another
UFOs and UFOs.
Yeah, another UFO just casually inserted there, nothing special.
Nothing to see
casual.
here, just UFO.
Yeah, just a UFO, it's the canon. It's the canon. You have to insert a UFO. It's almost like a no-brainer. So what you meant by the braided tentacles is this the guy? Is this the kind of guy?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
The braided tentacles. At some point, they went from just, crazy tentacle mouth to, hey, let's put this in order and put some braids on it. And when you think about the traditions with the Persians and Mesopotamia and the Scandinavians with the beards and the braids and the beads, you start going, I wonder if they were copying them.
Yes, or if he had tentacles there and he was a maritime creature, this could be a respiration device.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if you look at the guy across, he's a different species, slightly different. They look like they have the same common ancestry. But when you see this lower part of their face, they're slightly different.
Yeah, right. Or one of them may have a higher status being, having this suit on, and another one is just a regular guy or something.
I agree with that. This guy on the left side, when you recall the Sumerian depictions with the Tree of Life, where it has these 2-winged individuals and then it has these 4-winged individuals. What if this guy is one of those 2-winged individuals that was, because he's got the pine cone, he's got the handbag, and he's almost got that same position, a stance that you see on those artifacts with the Tree of Life. He's giving knowledge to this other guy who also 2 wings. I mean, who knows?
Right.
Maybe it's one of those, hey, you bought this pineal gland information, let me give it to you.
Something like that, yeah. So this pine cone and the handbag is like a common theme that indicates something.
Yeah, the pine cone is always connected with wisdom and that transmission of knowledge.
Or maybe just, information that they have, or information about something important that they have, and of course, for a species like us, it would be quote unquote higher knowledge, but it may be just something very, mundane to them, I guess. They just had this access thing with the handbag and the pine cone, and they were the gods because they had the information. It's like, if you have the knowledge,
is power.
Knowledge is power, and how to build stuff, how to educate yourself, like how to train psionically, maybe something like that, because it's the pine cone.
It's a pretty fair assumption that their pineal glands were bigger than Homo sapiens sapien, because with the Paracas skulls, they are 25% bigger than a Homo sapiens skull. So it stands to play that their pineal glands would have been larger. They would have had better abilities with them. And if you took an iPhone to a rainforest tribe, they would think you were God too.
True.
So most likely they were probably a type 1 or type 2 civilization that came here, already had advanced technology, found this little species of creatures that were drinking from mud puddles and went, look, man, we need some miners. If you guys mine for 75,000 years, we'll give you a bunch of stuff to pay for it.
Now, this looks really even closer to a church painting to me. Look at that. The wings kind of form a halo around him almost. And I know halo can be interpreted in other ways, energetically and so on, psionically also. And he's doing this almost like a mudra type thing, maybe supposed to be holding something, or just
this would be a great spot to put a crystal. Because if he was, protecting knowledge, holding knowledge, storing knowledge, that'd be a perfect spot for a crystal.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this dude. Sorry, it's I just saw this. So I'm like, wow, look
So
at Mr. Eagle.
this looks like a typical Anunnaki version to me.
Yeah,
And of course this guy is also, do you know why like you have numerous Anunnaki type guys with like avian features? Did they have like an avian race
actually,
within them?
there's a couple things that explain it. First and foremost, when you go to the beginning of the Anunnaki narrative, when Lulu first landed here, he lands on Earth from a ship he stole, by the way. So he lands on Earth and he goes and checks out the ship, and it says on there, he puts on the fish suit and the eagle-headed helmet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Got it.
I don't know.
Yes.
Stargate
Right.
again.
Yeah, the eagles, right, of course. The eagles were supposedly, well, according to Sitchin anyway, the way he interprets that is that eagles were actually the guys who were driving the spaceships. They were called eagles because they were pilots, just pilots. And he also kind of alludes to saying that, when we landed on the moon, supposedly the call sign was what the eagle has landed. And there was a lot of mentioning of eagles in the Mesopotamian texts about the Anu, and specifically the eagles were those who were driving people around on these spaceships. So yeah, interesting.
And they do talk about one of the initial pilots. The primary pilot who gets mentioned most is the one who actually flew Enki here. And this guy did end up in South America. I had a theory for a while that he was the one who set up the Mercury-based technology in South America, as well as in China, with the Emperor's pyramid. I can't remember. Emperor Qin. He had Mercury in his. They haven't opened it up, but it led through the mountain. So he had Mercury.
Got it. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I actually read this like several days ago. Yeah, that they have Mercury in there, found in the Qin Shi Huang tomb, which is still not fully opened and excavated, because I'm sure there is a lot of interesting stuff in there, and I'm sure they've been there already. They just tell everybody that they haven't. So yeah. Okay, so this
piece here has that uniquely Egyptian with the scarab, with the wings.
Yes.
And see, because there are so many connections to common Earth things from alien people, like scarabs, like beetles, like feathers, like eagle heads, even the fish suits, brings me back to this whole narrative about how this planet is the last remaining piece of a bigger planet called Tiamat. And that when Tiamat was hit by an asteroid from the Sagittarian galaxy, not the constellation, but from the dwarf galaxy that we are absorbing, that they say asteroid, but it could have been a core of a planet that hit Tiamat, because it went all the way down to the core.
Okay.
So when we see this stuff where they're talking about these Earth-based creatures, how could they have known unless it was part of Tiamat? We had colonies on Tiamat. Tiamat was populated, and even it had 10 orbital objects in which people had houses on those. Pluto was one of them. It used to be called Kingu. So when Tiamat got hit and exploded, Earth was the last remnant piece that they terraformed and then basically forgot about. So when they came back and Earth had, repopulated itself, you have these similarities. Okay, if this is the last remnant piece of Tiamat, one, that explains why there was a mass extinction event of dinosaurs. They suddenly changed, went extinct, or turned into birds.
Yep. And/or.
So what? Yeah, and/or. Yeah, it's like and/or. And so on top of that, how would these people from an alien planet who talk about Tiamat as a colony, how would they have eagle-headed helmets? They're not from Earth. Why would they have eagles? Why would they have scarabs? Unless it was part of a planet they had colonies on. Same
Okay.
with dinosaurs. Where would an alien named Alulu from Nubaru get an eagle-headed helmet? Why would he know about eagles? Even similar life forms of eagles.
Mm. All right. Okay. So what you're saying is this planet was seeded.
It was a remnant piece from a disaster that is described in the Enuma Elish and
Mm-hmm.
the tablets of Enki. In the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
when Alulu was running from Nubaru because he had gotten overthrown, he came here and he runs through this recollection of the stories he heard about Tiamat, how Tiamat got hit and it exploded. Now let me top this off, this whole crazy concept. Earth is a remnant piece of a much bigger planet that got terraformed, and they very recently found what they called the Theia theory,
Mm-hmm.
in which Earth was smashed into another
With
planet,
another
and
planet, yes.
and they found it. So
They've,
what if,
yeah.
yeah, what if what we're talking about is the same thing? That Tiamat, the planet that was 10 times bigger than Earth, was hit by a stellar core of a planet that went all the way down, destabilized it, caused it first to reverse its magnetic field, in which it sucked in
Mm-hmm.
and messed up all of the planets in this system with their axial tilt. So
Mm-hmm.
every planet in this system's all jacked up. So it sucked in the magnetic field strong enough to pull Mars out of its orbit at the time, strong enough to pull Venus in from passing by, and strong enough to pull a dwarf star that we call Sol. So all this came in and then it exploded. And the little bits that were left in part made up the debris fields, the asteroid belts. And then they took the largest piece that still had a moon attached to it and made Earth.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, it is. And what's even crazier is if you start looking around the planet, you start seeing it. Like, why does the Grand Canyon have a missing 1 billion years of rock?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You start seeing little areas where things got terraformed. That's the crazy part. Because, I mean, I can talk smack all I want and be like, I told you. But it's the evidence that backs it up.
All right. So I guess we can do another one on that.
I told you there'd be others.
Okay. So we've covered barely half of it. Well,
There's so much, it's so thick with information. It's just like, you can't just like push it by and be like, oh, look, aliens, UFOs. Oh, look, this has some major esoteric meaning. Next.
we haven't touched upon some of the reptilian heads here, which are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I think the reptilian heads we're looking at, by the way, I think those are priests.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they do
Yeah.
look like
Big
priests.
on top. Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
It definitely has the wow factor across the board. And I'm telling you, what I think what really I dig the most on all of this, it's yeah, the UFOs are awesome, the species are awesome, the tech is awesome. What I
Mm-hmm.
find trippier is how it connects through history. You start to see tentacles of where this affected other things, where they migrated to. Whether you look at Easter Island, whether you look at Egypt, whether you look at Babylon and Sumeria, you start also looking towards Indus Valley,
Mm-hmm.
India, Mongolia, the connection with the Aryan people. The swastika is through the Cherokee, through North America. You can follow a trail right up into India.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do
Yeah,
with Nazi, but it
sure.
is movement and it is part of the old world symbolism. And when you start tracking this, I mean, look at the meditation. Okay, look at the practices in India connected to these artifacts. You know, you start looking at this going, dude, it sounds bad, but it's cultural contamination that we can trace.
Right, exactly.
Когда, знаете, мы календарь мая. Страшно.
So many different forms and colors. It looks like the work of some psychedelic artist. But it's the universe that we live in. It's extraordinary.
Никому никогда ничего не было нужно.